Now, we know that all the jurors are seated, 20 of them, 8 alternates, but we also know there were 150 potential jurors summoned by the judge for this case, many of them saying that they feared for their safety post-trial, so dozens were dismissed. What's going on here?
Well, this actually happens quite a bit in what I call these supersized cases. There are people who, if they are honest, will say they don't want the kind of the angst that surrounds being on one of these trials. And that, from my standpoint, when you're picking a jury, those are some of the people you want because they're at least confident enough to be honest with you and tell you the truth.
And these are some big charges. Let's go through those a little bit. 6 criminal counts, including first-degree reckless homicide, first-degree intentional homicide, and attempted first-degree intentional homicide. Mark, how do you see this playing out?
Well, he's got a judge who has made some rulings, although controversial. I think they probably are correct, legally correct. And so far, I think he's going to get a seemingly fair trial. I still think that jury selection is what is going to determine this case. And based on what I've seen so far, I think this is a hung jury leaning towards acquittal on the more serious charges.
Interesting. Now, talking about some of those decisions by the judge, one of those being that a lot of people seem to be talking about what those 2 people who died are allowed to be called in the courtroom. Can you elaborate on that at all?
Sure, because what he said was the defense made a motion saying the prosecution should be barred from using the term victim. And this is a kind of a controversy that's been in the criminal law for quite a while, because from the criminal defense standpoint, to call somebody a victim is to already draw a legal conclusion. I've always used the term complaining witness or the decedent or any other term that does not have a legal conclusion next to it. And I think that makes the most sense. This judge hearkened back to a previous case he had where he had let a letter in that could not be cross-examined, and that case got reversed. And so he said he's not going to make the same mistake twice.
We also did see the judge saying that this case is not political and that these jurors need to keep politics out of it. How difficult is that, or how are they planning to implement that moving forward in this trial?
I will tell you that I'm a cynic, because it's no different than when judges say, we don't want you following the media, and we don't want you reading about this. I think that's honored in the breach. I think that people are going to come to this case, whether they want to consciously or unconsciously admit it. There are political prisms through which they look, and that will determine how they view the evidence.
Mark, lastly, do you think there's anything that's going to need to be done in order to keep these jurors safe? We heard a lot of them expressing concern yesterday. We also heard them saying things like they're boarding up their home windows, they're moving their cars to the backyard, they're leaving town ahead of this or afterwards. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, this is always one of your fears in a case like this, that a juror is going to think, if I find him not guilty, that there's going to, X, Y, and Z is going to happen. We've seen it happen over the decades in supersized cases like this. And I think that's something the judge is going to have to continue to take the juror's pulse, so to speak, by making sure that there aren't extraneous influences that are playing on the jurors in this case.
All right, opening statements expected today. Mark Geragos, thank you as always.
Good to see you, Rachel.
You as well.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, where real news for real people.